Do you want me to start or give a couple
Sure.
minutes?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Hello, everybody, and thank you for your time and joining for this webinar. And so I'm very excited to share my experience, lived experience, and also hopefully some strategic takeaways for your journey and professional, personal journey toward licensing, and also is how you build your meaningful career in Canada, leveraging your international experience. Okay. So today's webinars will follow this agenda, and I guess it's very simple and but hopefully it not too simple agenda. So I start with my introduction, who I am, and about my story. How did I get here from Mongolia to Canada and the getting licensing paths, and also navigating Canadian job market, and also what is the reality and what actually worked for me, and share some strategies and give you a final takeaway and some sharing some resources that was helpful for me. And look forward to final Q&A sessions answering your questions. And yeah. So, introduction, and my name is Erna Yondan. I'm a licensed professional geoscientist, PGO, and licensed at Engineers in Geoscientists species. And I have master's in geophysics degree and as well as bachelor's in geology degree. All my degrees are from Mongolia. And I have over 15 plus years of international and also Canadian just science and work experience. So I worked through four different countries, Mongolia, Australia, China, as well as in Canada as a geoscientist and exploration geophysicist. And in addition, I have MBA in sustainable innovation from University of Victoria. About 2 years ago, I completed my MBA. And in addition to that, I have few other soft skill and other credentials, including PMP, project management professional, and environmental professional. I will detail a little bit more about this additional credentials later on for other slides. And I'm a founder of White Geoscience, niche geoscience, deep geophysical consulting firm. Um, yeah, so my story, and I started my career as a geophysicist, very junior geophysicist from Mongolia when I finished my Bachelor of Science degree in National University of Mongolia. And as soon as I finish my undergrad, I was lucky enough to accepted the working one of the largest copper gold deposits in Mongolia, Oyutla deposits. That's how I started my professional path, joining Ivanhoe Mines as a geophysicist, and it was, I would call, once a lifetime opportunity working alongside professionals from Mongolia, as well as, more importantly, the critical path for my future to opening more doors toward Western and Canadian experience in working alongside with those experts from Canada, US, Australia, etc. So it was just absolutely amazing opportunity working as a young geophysicist, just finished my undergrad and joining for one of the biggest copper gold mine. And I worked there around 8 years in the discovery years, during the discovery years, and right on the exploration team, and started from junior technician to lead geophysicist and manager role later on, and uh, and after that, and I also led about 40 people team, geophysical team, and do similar deep geophysical exploration in Australia, in China, Inner Mongolia. And it was very complex a project in terms of coordination and organization because you are not in your own country, you're a different country, for example. In addition to your technical roles, and also it required lots of project management aspects, which was helpful for me now, and implementing those skills I have learned throughout that from that international work experience. And then I arrived immigrated in Canada 2016, and yeah, and that's how journey start. And I from 2016 to 19, I transition from Mongolia to Canada, new country, everything new. And one thing I learned is I wanted to work as a professional in Canada, like, geophysicist and geoscientist. But uh, before I coming to Canada, I worked so many years in Mongolia, and when I come to Canada, I could work as a professional, but it was so different, because I didn't know anything about the regulatory and licensing process and requirement. And so that's why it took me for my case, over 2.5, almost 3 years to get my professional geoscientist designation or license in Canada, and because that's how I that part I really didn't understand. So I also will give you more detail about that. And 2020, I became PGO, and then I, in addition to my technical roles, I started my MBA 2021 and to 23, and from 23, I got various different roles, positions in Canada, in addition to founder of my own consulting firm and some volunteer advocacy board director for professional organizations. And so next part of my story is getting a license path, and how did I get my PGO, and how was that path? So it took me about 2.5 years because that there's requirements and references and exam parts, and overall I was just wanted to give a little bit more detail about key aspects, which including um, it's really important to understand the regulatory body and its requirements well, instead of rather than frustrate, or rather than unstructured attempts, I would say. So try to really understand what they asking, and what are the requirements, and based on that, then really important, what gap is missing from your side. Is the gap is related with your academic and courses, or is that related with your work experience, or are you having difficulty for the exam part? So basically, you understand the requirements well and identify your gap early enough. It's really, really helpful. It was really helpful for me, and also, especially, internationally trained professional, we have to send our academic records directly from our institution to to advocacy body. And so there is also quite a bit challenge or quite a bit steps to there, and make sure you contact with your institutions well and explain well and go through your all your courses and what courses really did you take, and yeah, understand the requirement really, really well and compare with yours. And also important for you to explain your international work experience really well. And there is a certain aspects you have to be highlight or emphasize. Make sure you do that. And then I got my GIT. I forgot a year ago before I got my PGO license. But that the process is you get your PGO. That was for me anyway. So you got your geoscientists in training GIT first. Then you have to work. Depends on your case. Everybody's case is different. Depends on an individual case, GIT, then a PGO. So you have to write the exams too, and that's the process. You won't get the PGO right away, but that wasn't for me anyway. And also references, it's really important. And if possible, if you know, if you work directly under Canadian supervisor, and try to get a reference from that. But if not, it's also good too. You can get some international reference as well. And for me, I was also had some Canadian work experience while I applied for PGO, because I during my time in Mongolia, I worked with international experts, and so that connection really helped me to secure my first Canadian geoscience experience. So that really helped me to get a reference and fill out the Canadian work experience part. And overall, this process doesn't happen overnight, and it takes time and effort. So really I learned is, perseverance is really important, and not giving up or too early, or not too frustrated. And so being perseverance, it's really important thing. So second part of my story is, how did I navigate Canadian job market, and what was the reality, and also what is the reality still now. And when you got your PGO, or and generally speaking, an internationally trained professional come to Canada and work as a professional, and then you apply for the job, is a common paradox there. Do you have a Canadian work experience? And and that was the one of the challenge we face as an internationally trained professional. And so for my case, how did I navigate this Canadian experience paradox is, it was really important to build your professional network early as possible, and to joining associations, professional associations, or societies, or any events, and building that professional network is really important, and also reaching out to your previous colleagues, because for my case maybe it was advantageous because I worked in a mining project before, and so colleagues came from all over. That might be helpful, but for your case, it also can be helpful too. And try to keep that previous network door always open and reach out to your colleagues. That really helped me to get the reference and also talking to someone that person suggested, oh, you talk to that person. So that's how connections started. And and also I realized that, it's like it's quite common for us as internationally trained professionals. We kind of a little bit apologetic about we didn't get we don't have a Canadian experience, but actually that having that international experience, it's really an asset, and you have to really position right in terms of when you're applying for the job and putting your international experience into your resume, etc. So make sure you position it right. But I think you will learn that along the way, and yeah, that that thing is comes by the doing, yeah. Uh, and also an important part is, applying for the jobs. You put the resume and networking and interview strategy overall. So from the applying for the job, you have to tailor your resume because, it happened to me is, it's like, also t save the time, you apply, use one resume for five different jobs. But I hope that is, already long gone by nowadays, but everybody probably know, I have to tailor my resume for every application. And but some of the people I met, internationally trained engineers and from India and Japan and other countries, they still don't have this mindset that tailoring your resume, and make sure you put that into that Canadian language, how to translate your experience, how you put things into Canadian language that Canadian employer and stand or accept. So I think you need to practice, you need to join some of that clubs or free something courses, or but that's important. But some people still don't have that. They resume and mindset is still not a Canadian yet. I think that's the big part. You lose lots of time, and also it give you lots of frustration. And so networking part was really important and played a key role from my case, how I got my first job, how I expand my connections. So one of the application was, of course, the professional network of LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is try take a leverage the LinkedIn and go out and attend the professional events and then meet with the people and follow up with the people, ask questions and also volunteering is a great opportunity. I will give a little bit more detail, especially for the volunteering part. And yes, networking, I would again. So through your LinkedIn or through your colleagues, and ask for go for coffee, or it's nowadays it's really important for networking, and especially you settling into new country, and it's just absolutely critical. And yeah, and putting that international experience is his asset. That mindset is really important. Don't be apologize, so I don't have that. Use your international experience as an advantage. So you change your mindset, and that's really important. And so, in addition to that, you can see all these slides, kind of, what lessons learned and kind of advisory aspects included. And yeah, now in my moving on to my story, third point is, what actually worked for me, and I summarize few bullet points here. And for my case, mentoring was is really played a key role. For my case, I had great mentors during my time in Mongolia. My mentor was a Canadian mentor and also from Australia. So I have those mentors still nowadays. So and then in Canada again, I had a great mentors as very early on and through the International Intercultural Association, and that mentor connected me with local mining and public and private sector network, and also helped me to join events, go with my mentor, and he introduced me with other people, and I talked to, and so that's how things started. So I really recommend to try have a good mentor, and mentor is not for my case, mentor wasn't only mentor. Mentor was my friend, my almost like my friend, my advisor. And so mentor played so many roles for my case. So I really recommend you to have a mentor and share your, challenges. There will be lots of up and downs throughout our professional and personal career. So having someone to share your up and downs and share your thoughts, what you think, and so that really helped. And also I invested in Canadian education, like both my degree was technical degree from Mongolia. Then I came to Canada. I also realized that too in a realistic Canadian job market, and I'm not really competitive if I only pursue or only using my technical degree or technical ability. And in addition to technical aspects, I need some business aspects that I chose, but it can be maybe finance. It could be different for everyone. But I thought this business aspect would open more doors. It did. It absolutely did. And then I got my invested into MBA. So it really opened door for me to applying for other jobs, for example, not only technical, but also, business jobs, and also really helped me to understand and also widened my perspective about, how business run. And not, of course, businesses will focus on profitability and profit driven, but my MBA was specialty for sustainable innovation focus. So that's why, and in addition to profitability, how we run, how we implement the sustainability aspects into the business to taking care of our environment, taking care of our people, and taking overall bigger picture, taking care of our planet, etc. So this Canadian education really helped me to many aspects and increased my network, professional network, my understanding for job perspective, etc. And and also I would recommend you too. And it worked for me too. Join professional associations and societies early. It's very early, so you can join BC, a Society of Engineering and Geoscience. I have its acronyms detail explained later on slides. You will see that and on a resource page, and also Island Women Science and Technology, Young Mining Professionals, and EGBC, and also CRIN, Clean Resource Innovation Network is a great resource for the new Canadians who are trying to build a STEM career in Canada. It's a great networks and societies and associations. You can join as a volunteer. That's why I was mentioned that volunteering is really good, and it opened many doors. You talk to people, you connect with people, you learn things, and it's also relevant what you're trying to do if you're pursuing technical career, even non-technical career, 'cause it will help you to maybe get your learn more about your designation or licensing part, and in addition, for my case, to having that long-term vision um, really helped me instead of, oh, I apply for example, career-wise, so I apply this job and for work few years and maybe apply for another jobs, things like that. But I really wanted to build the long-term vision and long-term career as an individual and also as a professional. So having that long-term vision, what I want for the life and what I want for my career, and also self-talk is very important, and it can be very frustrating, honestly, is going through all this, but to how you navigate that frustration or how you reach your long-term goal as an individual, as a professional. So one thing I would say is you try not to jump from A to Z, you try to go from A to B, like, setting that smaller milestones, smaller goals. For example, okay, for this month, I try to meet with these five people or something like that. But putting that smaller milestones that aligned with your long-term goals or long-term future, I think that is important part. Um, so key takeaways from my experiences, as I mentioned, international experience is really valuable. I can see lots of value in my case, and you just need to frame it, because you've seen not only Canadian how life and business and everything happen in Canada, but you bring whole different advantage from other countries in terms of economic wise, in terms of environmental wise, in terms of cultural wise. You've seen, both words, I would say. And so you bridging and you bring that advantage to new country. So your organization and and overall for bigger picture, the Canada will benefit from your advantage. It's like more diverse we are, it's more innovative we'll be, and more equal we will be. And so try think bigger, and you are bringing big advantage to to for example, Canada. So make sure you have that mindset. Make sure you're proud of what you are bring to the table and bring to the country. And in addition, that the licensing and getting licensed at that experience, it doesn't happen in a short period of time. And I put it not it's a marathon, and it is, marathon. And so it's being patient and being perseverance is really important. And also you documenting is right, and make sure you understand the requirement well and what's the gap and how you navigate that. And it can be very frustrating journey for in terms of your cases, or everyone's case is different, but in terms of timing, in terms of the requirements, in terms of a high standard and requirements, and it's easy to give up or easy to misunderstand, and but it will happen. It will happen if you're being patient and perseverance. And so my case was Canadian experience. Education was is quite worthy, and it opened more doors. And many ways, networking, expand, and standing of the Canadian and work and life culture, etc. So yeah, and connect with that professional communities early enough. I mentioned the EGBC, for example, try to volunteer with the EGBC. There is many volunteering opportunity. Try to volunteer with BC and it's great, great community and great people. And so volunteering uh, really expand your network, and also it's give you, you put your name out there, right? That's give you visibility for the professional community, and who knows, down the road, if you need a professional reference or etc., or it will be helpful for you some point and down for your career and for your yeah. And so it's just connect with those community early enough and be proactive and be part of the community. It's really important. I know it's especially newcomers, or especially newcomers, they face not only professional related challenges, but also personal challenges related, for example, language barrier, right? And they go into in some meeting or events, and they may be shy, right? It's very common they shy and can't talk openly with other people, or even it's how can I introduce myself or things like that. So there is lots of little, but the challenges we face, and that's why it's important to be engaged and proactive, and don't be shy, and yeah, and the networking again, so it's really, really helpful, and so give you visibility and networking and comment, look through comment, and so that's how the connection and starts. So trust me, it worked for me, and I'm sure it will work. And so just being proactive and and again, so volunteering is really played a key role for my career, still playing key role nowadays, and and it builds reputation, and it connects you with the people, professional community, and it's amazing. Also, you as a PGO now, is volunteering is giving back to your community, and also you participate important decision making, or bring your voices to the society and profession. That's really important. And so don't be shy, and don't be sit back. And so yeah, try join for the societies as a volunteer. And so I put here a few resources that might be helpful for you and engineers and your scientists, BC, regulatory body and licensing. And yeah, if you are planning to pursue to get your professional license, this is the organization in BC, and you have to check and be patient and be perseverance, and things will happen. And BC Society of Engineering and Geoscience is BCSEC. It's called advocacy body. It's a great organization, and to newcomers and new Canadians, and also professionals in Canada, is through the mentoring and volunteering, and you be part of the same minded and like-minded the STEM professionals, and we have 15 branches. And for example, I live in Victoria, BC. There is a Victoria branch, and there is a new student I asked me other day from UWIC, and how can I connect with people? I'm final year of my bachelor's, and so I said recommended to join BCSEC and come into one of the branch events, and that's how you meet with people. There is engineers and geoscientists there, and that's how you meet with people and learn from them. And so that's how things start. And it's a great organization for newcomers too, and join. And we not only face technical professional challenges, in addition to that, another personal level of challenges too. And so, and BCSEG is great for to looking for mentoring, and it will help you. And the Women Geoscientists Canada, WGC, also is a great organization for mentorship, and then being part of great impact driven events, and also give you visibility and really support the woman in geoscience profession. So yeah, we do also, challenges too, especially after the maternity leave, or male dominant industry, and the women also face challenges. So WGC is really focused on how can we support those females in this professional geoscience profession. Island Women in Science Technology is a great community, and not only working professionals, but it's great for the newcomers to join and volunteer. And they have great events, monthly events, and you can join and meet people and ask questions, and clean resource innovation network too, and which I'm very grateful to Clean's support to putting this webinar together. And as Clean is a great place to new Canadians in the STEM field who wanted to build a career and connection, and so get connected. And yeah, and so if you want to connect with me, here's my also LinkedIn, and please scan the barcode. And so I'm happy to connect and help you as much as I can, and ask me some questions, and try to answer. And thank you for that. And so I'm happy to take your question if there is any. And yeah.
Diana, there's a question in the chat. Did you undergo the course by course evaluation of your academic courses, the BSc and MSc, like World Education, West Canada?
For my case, yeah, Rex, yeah, Kamit, I can see a question. And for my case, it was course by course, and evaluation. And uh, for both my master's and bachelor's courses, then and depends on the requirements. Sometimes there is you need to take additional courses to fulfill that requirements.
We have,
Go
sorry,
ahead.
no, we have another question. This is from one of the questionnaires we got from the registrants. It says, for internationally trained STEM professionals who want to build not just a technical career, but eventually move into leadership, management, strategy, or business roles, what skills, experiences, or career decisions have the biggest impact on both long-term growth and earning potential in Canada?
Okay, thank you for that question. I think yeah, it's a great question, and lots including in there. Yeah, for example, for my case, uh, I came with only a technical background and STEM field, and come to Canada. And that's also I faced challenges there too. In addition to my technical side, there is some soft skills and other strategic path skills I would need. So depends on what are you aiming to. If you are building on your STEM field, you wanted to try to be a more finance focused leadership role in down the road, or you're more environmental focused roles. Depends on that. I would suggest. I think I would suggest to figure out which path you wanted to pursue in addition to your STEM. Then there are different skills and would be useful, for example, business or strategy skills or credentials, for example, MBA and ICDD, or if you're looking for more finance side, maybe looking some credentials like CPA or CFA type of designations, and also project, for my example too, project management, PMP, having that designations. It also helpful to apply jobs, or what I have learned from PMP, implement that into day-to-day work. And one thing I also have to notice, should say here, is having designations one thing, and but you know, your experiences also is important too, in addition to your designation. But having that designation help you maybe land on job, or it's good on your resume. But real experiences also play a critical role. And so PMP designation is great. And if you're looking some project or program related management aspects, or for example, my case also, I have environmental professional designation. So and combination with my technical and environmental designation, and skills also really helpful if you apply or pursuing environmental leadership in the long run. And yes, and so yeah, have to define which path, which way you're planning. There is plenty of designation soft skills you can add on top of your STEM. Then join some local chapters or hubs, or societies, to get to know and same-minded people. For example, Victoria, not only technical side, there is a STEM uh, BCCX STEM branch, but also like PMI Victoria chapter, or CFA Victoria chapter, things like that. So it's good to know, and start joining those chapters. Yeah.
We have another, Erna. It says here, what if my previous employer cannot provide a reference?
So this is quite this is also common questions, and also happen quite common, for especially when you apply for to getting your license. And so if your previous employer, a direct supervisor, cannot provide you a reference, and try to maybe ask some colleagues, or probably maybe clients. And but if you licensing, they usually require direct supervisor, but try to get your maybe colleagues would be helpful. So that's why it's important to you keep those connections, even though for example, I came to Canada 10 years ago. I still keep connected with my colleagues from OT, and you never know, and some of them is working in Canada, some are working in Australia, and it helps. Yeah.
Thank you, Erna. We have a couple more. This one says, should I take any specific Canadian course first to become licensed?
I think that will be related to with your as I mentioned, what gap are you, what gap is it related with your academic, or is it related with your work experience, or its reference? And so to identify those gaps, uh, then based on that, if there is an academic related gap, I think is also Rex was mentioned too, and going through uh, all the syllabus individually, academic courses. Then if there is any missing, I you have to take some of the courses, the missing courses. I know a couple of GITs, geoscientists in trainings, even though they had a bachelor's degree from Canada. There was also a few missing courses specifically, so they took that courses.
Okay. And the next one is how long does it take for PGO?
Um, it really depends on cases by cases, and because what's your previous academic and educations from. For example, my case, I both from bachelor's and my master's from Mongolia. But when you translate that international degrees into the Canadian standard, I go through BCIT's, one of the educational service. ICSS, I think. Yeah, it wasn't World Education Services, but there is a few credentials services accepted by for example, EGBC's case. And then when you translate that foreign degrees into Canadian degrees, it sometimes, master's degree can be only qualify a bachelor plus 2 years. For example, master's degree only will be qualify to qualify, and also equivalent as Canadian bachelor's 4 years bachelor degrees, for example. And so that takes time. If your degree is not qualified, you may need to additional year or some, and so that adds a year to your PGO license or PNG license. And also some missing courses, if there are any, it will also add, and your work experience. And so it really depends on cases by cases. That's why I have to understand and go through the requirements well, and what's the gap. And for my cases, it took 2.5 years, and luckily my work experience from OT was qualified, and my academic bachelor's and master's wasn't missing too many courses, but my background was geophysics and geology. That was quite number of courses was aligned with PGO requirements, and and uh, an exam part, and a writing exam, and essay writing, and also legal exams. And yeah, it adds up, but important to be not give up, because some people, year and a half, some people 2 and 2, 3, 2.5 to 3 years, depends on, yeah, cases by cases. Yeah.
Next question is how did you handle imposter syndrome during the process for PGO and the Canadian job market?
Um, Imposter syndrome is, yeah, it's very common, and I won't only address this for women or female, but I think it's equally happen for male and females. I think so. And so I would say build your confidence, and like what is the root of the imposter syndrome is coming from is you not being confident, or you're not being believing yourself, or and so it's important you build that confidence for your own. You know yourself. Nobody else know you better than you, right? So you are capable, and you have done lots of great things in your previous job, or in when you come in your home country. You know that. So building that confidence for yourself and motivate for yourself, it's really important to get over imposter syndrome. And also is when most newcomers, and also newcomers, and also internationally trained professionals, we do have some language barrier. So I've been through there. I've been through there, and then we go to events, and then we go to meet with people and networking. We often quite shy and embarrassed from our pronunciations to saying, speaking English, and also introduce ourselves. Those thing is also pushing us back to, and putting ourselves down, and creating that part of imposter syndrome. So to going over that, I would say you have to practice. You probably you can write down or practice yourself. How, if I meet with this person, or if I go to events, how should I introduce myself? How can I highlight my international experience, etc.? So I would suggest that practicing is also a critical, small milestones. Hi, my name is Erna Yanda, and things like that, or it depends on formal or informal, but practice, and attend some of the maybe YouTube, listen some of the YouTube or free courses, and if you know some need some help, and maybe connect me. I know some of the imposter syndrome navigating imposter syndrome coaches. She does a free courses sometimes, and she's a great person to connect, and things like that. So build your confidence and don't give up. You have done so many great things. You have ability to do many great things, and trust yourself. It will come.
We have our last question here, Erna. It says, I do not know how or where to start. Could you give me some ideas or recommendations?
Yeah, that's very common, uh, common thing we face. Don't know what to do, how to start, and can't get a job, and where to start. Even though, for example, someone, but not my case, have a great job, a great experience, many years of great experience for engineering career. I come to Canada and couldn't get the job, and I starting working at the McDonald's, things like that. So I saw many cases. I met with many people explaining what should I do, how where do I start. So it's really important to I would say you ask yourself, do you ask yourself what do you want, right? To identify your path. What do you want is also important, very important first step. Do I want to work as a professional, or do I want to navigate, in addition to my technical career, I add some soft skills, and also to identify that, then you will figure out some path some path from there, and then you add maybe some skill, and also is, being situational awareness also important. What's happening around you, how's the trends look like? If you look at the job market and what kind of maybe a small hiring toward environment or toward finance or and so you will see that. But also main thing is, you don't lose the trust on yourself. Very easy to lose trust on ourselves. And so don't lose trust on yourself. You are very capable, but the important thing is you identify what you want in your life, and from this situation to moving forward. And it's okay. You can change your path a little bit. It's okay. It's normal. But you have to talk to yourself, identify that first, and small milestones at a time, and it will come.
We have no more questions, Erna. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, and appreciate for people attended today's webinar, and I hope it was helpful, and based on my story and my experience, and hope there is some takeaway for you. And please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and ask some questions, and I'm happy to answer and further connect it.